Well, hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the show. I'm your host, Tracy Willen. My pleasure to be here with you guys today on this beautiful Good Friday. So, firstly, before we get stuck into the show, let me say Happy Easter to you all. It is Easter Friday, and we'll Good Friday in Australia. And my very good, my special guest that I've got with me today, all the way from Florida. It is only Thursday evening first, so I always tell my that are dialing in from overseas, your future. I can tell you what's going to go on in the world. I can tell you that it's an absolutely brilliant day today. So your day tomorrow is going to be just the same. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. April Brown and why I've actually got her here on the show. So as you know, the Unlock Show, we explore all things around business, family, and life. Why? Because all of those three things come together to create something in our life that becomes balanced and purposeful. So normally, you've heard me talking the last few months around how to build a podcast, how to build a show, create an income from creating an online program. We wanted to take a little bit of a detour today and kind of go down the realm of relationships, in particular intimacy. And you're wondering, well, how the heck does what does intimacy actually have to do with entrepreneurship, and how do you use that to positively impact your business, your physical, mental, your emotional, spiritual health? And I couldn't think of anybody better than Dr. April Brown to have on the show to talk about this particular topic and share with you the fact that she's wrote a book on this subject. So my guest today, all the way, as I said, from Florida, is a licensed medical mental health counselor. She's a sex therapist and a qualified clinical supervisor. She's got a really diverse background in counseling with children, teens, adults, families, couples from all sorts of cultures and background. That makes her so special and makes her qualified to be able to come on and actually speak about this particular topic. She's been running a Thrive practice since 2005 in Cape Coral in Florida, and she specializes in helping people overcome anxiety, depression, self-esteem, relationships, and also sex therapy. Today we're going to be exploring a number of those things, but like I said, in particular, how does that relate to us as entrepreneurs? So I want to say a huge big welcome to the show. It's fantastic to hear on this full Good Friday.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy, for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to it. Yes, definitely.
You're very welcome. So let's firstly talk, because honestly, when I saw your profile come, I was thinking about what the Unlock Show being about business, family, and life, and this concept of intimacy. And sometimes that, I'm going to be honest, that word is it's like I don't really go there. It's in a lot of places it's kind of a little bit taboo. Not necessarily a bad way, but it's just the sort of thing. You just don't talk about that sort of stuff. So, how does intimacy relate to entrepreneurship? And in your opinion, what is your definition of intimacy, and why is it so important?
Okay, so intimacy is really connecting, number one, with yourself. It's that awareness of body, mind, spirit. Also, that inner spirit of connecting for some people, higher power. And that intimately you see connection with others. So it relates not only in my own journey. One of the other things I do is I also help other clinicians have private practice, but it helps in the sense of being an entrepreneur. Because when you're connected, number one, if you're spiritual and you're connected with your spiritual power, and you feel like it's a calling to do what you're doing, then you're not feeling very anxious, self-doubt or whatever. Number one. Number two, if you know yourself truly intimately, and that means you know what you like, what you dislike, what your skills are. And even today, I was just talking about as females, us even being so powerful in knowing our own vagina, and how that right there just empowers us to be aware of what we do, to speak to feel fully engaged and not like look down on ourselves. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that right there. And then the connection with others. It's truly, truly important. As an entrepreneur, you've got to learn sometimes how to wear many different hats,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to learn how to ask for help, who to talk to, not to talk to, just a variety of different things. So it's truly good to learn how to be intimate in all aspects.
I recall listening to your podcast on your intimacy show, and you were talking about sort of your background and how you came to be in this space. Because from what I understand, your previous background was an accountant, so kind of this massive U-turn from being based and very logical thinking accountant to now I've had this experience in my life that has now brought me to see something else that I now have a passion for. So do you want to tell everybody how that even came out? Because I think that's really important when you're talking about knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, and then kind of finding a passion. After listening to some of your talks, I think that's actually what happened to you, right? You found that at an experience that happened was like light went off or came on and was like, hey, I'm passionate about this now and I want to go down the path. So how do you share everybody how that came out?
Yes, definitely. So actually, I'm good with numbers and I like business. Um, and so I end up going into marketing and advertising and accounting and finance. Okay. But I probably should go back a little bit further. When I was in high school, I always wanted to be a doctor, but the smell of you dissecting stuff is just not too good for me. So I decided, since I'm good with numbers, let me go into business. And I did accounting. And I was good at it, but it was the same old stuff over and over again. And then I got overwhelmed and I was about to have a child. And I felt like it was time for me to take a break and just spend time with family and really go internal to see what should happen. So I started to volunteer, which is a great thing to do. And then I heard this little inner voice that said, you know what? Why don't you think about being a counselor? A school counselor, actually, like my grandmother was. And I was like, no, 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 no. I don't like people. I don't like people. I'm shy. But the voice kept going to me. And then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And so this is what I chose to do, and became a school counselor. But from that point, even up to what I am now, there's been little voices that have told me inside, hey, think about doing this. Think about doing this. Sometimes our journey is not just a straight path, as we always think. Sometimes we go to the left, to the right. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking, wow, I tried this, but it did not work out, does not mean that you just give up everything. Sometimes it means for you to go back to the drawing board and to go, yeah.
Absolutely. I just want to do a little bit of a check-in because someone's telling me that I'm getting a feedback on the echo. So I just want to double check. Are you hearing an echo from me now?
A little bit, yes.
All right. Just bear with me a second. Let me just do a little bit of a switcheroonie and see if I can get rid of. See if I can just go.
Does that make any difference?
I think so.
The sound might be a little bit not so great, but it might get rid of that echo. So hopefully that's a little bit better. All right, guys, if you're live right now, can you guys just let me know in the chat that is a little bit better, or am I still having some crazy echo go on?
Yes.
All right. So someone's saying yes, we're a bit better. All right, perfect. Thank you, viewers, for letting me know that there was that echo. But you're absolutely right. Like, throughout our lives, and I think this comes down to that piece where you're talking about really understanding and kind of tapping into your higher, the higher version of you, your higher power, so to speak. That's actually giving you some clues that, hey, this is the path that you should be going down. And like you're saying, as you went through your journey, you got these clues that then kind of led you to what you're doing right now, which is having this thriving business that's helping people all over the world to really start working on their, and I think there's 3 components to it, right, that you talk about. It's like the you, so yourself, your higher power, and then also the relationships that you're building with others. So when we think about it from that perspective, where do I mean, it seems really obvious, but most people don't always start with themselves. Often we'll start with, I've got to try and, fix the relationships around me. So in your experience and with your expertise, where does somebody start, and how do they start really tapping into what their higher power is, and how do they start to get to know who they really are, so they can start building a life that is being fulfilled, that is empowering, and that does lead them to their true purpose?
Well, I think that's a great question. Well, first, there's a thing called the law of attraction, which I believe everybody has heard. What you put out in the atmosphere, you get back. All right. So if you want people that are energized, that are at a certain level to attract you, you have to start working on you. And then the great thing about it is you are going to be with you for the rest of your life, which is exciting. Yes. So one of the things that I work with a lot of people on is not to say anything negative about yourself, no matter what. We are all work in progress. So as you start with yourself and you're like, well, Dr. April, I make mistakes. Well, so do I. I make mistakes every day. But what I do is I learn from them. I realize that I am a work in progress. So what that means is I'm not going to put myself down. I'm going to work on myself. And working on yourself means actually sometimes just reflecting, what do I like? What do I dislike? Those things are really, really important. Am I doing self-care, which is extremely important, because many times as people overall, we do a lot for other people. There's this commandment about loving people, but we're supposed to love people as we love ourselves. And many times we do so much for other people, but we don't take time for ourselves. So taking time for yourself, loving yourself, finding out what you like and what you dislike. Many times it's good to get a coach or get a third party or get a therapist to see exactly, am I really shining in my job, in my profession, and what I'm doing? It starts with yourself.
Yeah, and like you said, so when you're talking about self-care, let's sort of go down that path of understanding, what do we actually mean by self-care? Like, what sorts of things would one be doing to demonstrate a level of self-care?
Okay, so you only have one body. Okay, so one of the most important thing is to, of course, get proper rest. That's really important. Also, eat healthy as much as possible, work out. But then the other thing is learning time to, even as an entrepreneur, we also have to take time to rest, not to just be going. Rest is really important. That's one of the help of the self-care things. Some people also get massages, get, their hair done and stuff. All those are good things. Another good thing of really self-care is being able to actually laugh. Yes. When you laugh, you produce a lot of good endorphins, which is really helpful.
Crazy, doesn't it? That we even have to talk about, taking some time out to just have a good laugh.
Right.
Like, how, it's funny, isn't it? Excuse the pun, but how, over time we forget, or we lose the spontaneousness of just having a good old laugh with somebody and being able to, look at a situation and going, oh my gosh, we did that completely wrong, but we'll have a bit of a laugh. And it's interesting that you should talk about this, because just a couple of days ago, I was doing a little bit of work with my daughter-in-law, and she was out, and it's, you would say it's not really girls' work, totally is, because we love doing it. We're working on our family camper, and her and I did something completely wrong. Like, it just didn't go the way that we wanted to. However, we could both look at it, and we just had this great, big belly laugh so many times throughout the hour that her and I were working together, because we actually made so many mistakes. But funny things like that we just don't really take a moment out to have a really good laugh about something, and how much better you feel when you can reflect and you say things like, don't speak poorly of yourself, find the good in what you do,
Hmm.
and maybe even have a bit of a laugh about it at the same time.
Right. And it's really good even to do affirmations of saying
Mhm.
I am positive things about yourselves. And if you have goals, another good aspect is to even write them down. I go back to that law of attraction. What you put out in the atmosphere, you get back. Yes.
Absolutely. I don't know how many times. I mean, I know that I've done that so many times. You write down your goals, or you do some sort of vision board, and
Right.
before long, as you're doing that, that whole law of attraction, so to speak, it speeds up that manifestation process. So, when we're talking about sort of these levels, or different types of intimacy, let's share with everybody the different types of intimacy that you would generally work with people on. In particular, um, how you work with those different levels of intimacy to help you to avoid anxiety, depression, and those sorts of things. Because the last few years have been stressful for, a lot of people. For most,
Mhm.
I would say, most people have felt that, their stress levels have risen because of the environment in which we've been living in. So how do the levels of intimacy play into that? And how can you improve your level of intimacy to maybe reduce the level of anxiety and depression?
Right, definitely. It's a great question. So, as I talked earlier about the negative self talk, when you have negative self talk, that increases your depression. So, learning how to do affirmations, saying I am, and, of course, eating healthy and working out also definitely helps decrease depression and also helps decrease anxiety. Another good thing that relates to all this form of intimacy is being mindfulness. Mindfulness means being in the present moment. When you're in the present moment with yourself, and especially when you're in the present moment with other people, there's a certain connection there. That you truly feel. And when you're in the present moment, that means your mind is not very anxious. Because when an anxious mind, it's either worrying about the what ifs of the future, or the stuff that in the past, which you can make pancakes out of it, but you can't change. So you have to learn how to be in the present moment. And one way of learning how to be in the present moment is using your five senses. So that's whether you're washing dishes, whether you're making love to your partner, use your five senses. Find five things you can see, five things you can see in the room, five things you can see on a person's body, four things you can touch. You were using touch. Yeah, three things you can hear, two things you can smell, and one thing you can taste. Use your five senses to bring yourself back. Because many times we thought in the 80s that you can, what you call, multitask, do
Mhm.
all this stuff. But we realized that that does not get work done effectively or efficiently. It's really good to learn how to be truly mindful in what you do. And that really does help in intimacy in all aspects of self, spirit, and with others.
I love that. That's like a really simple technique, right? It's to
Right.
use all of those senses and do what you're talking about, so that it can bring you right back to that present moment. Because, like you say, often we're doing something, but you're already 10 steps ahead. You're thinking about tomorrow, or you're thinking about what's gone in the past that you can't make any, you can't change. It is what it is. So being very, very present um, also makes a huge difference to, your state of mind and well-being in that moment. What does When we talk about sort of intimate connection with your higher power, what does that look like, and what do we mean by that?
So, what that looks like, and for everyone, it can look differently, it is actually spending time with your higher power. For some people, they feel like they have to do it in the church. Other may have to do it in, well, I love Costa Rica, in Costa Rica or the jungle or in your own bedroom. The point is having a relationship, an open talk. And when you open yourself up and you just talk or think and you're really truly present, you can hear your inner spirit. Your inner spirit is something that's inside you that is guiding you. It is not, it does not criticize you whatsoever. It is guiding you. It wants the best for you. So it guides you through life and helps, tells you, you know, what you should do. And when you have that connection, then you're not really second guessing yourself or anxious about this and that. You're more secure.
And to get to that state where you are able to be still and listen and tune in to your higher power, what are some techniques that somebody could do to practice getting into that state of mind to be able to connect with one's higher power?
I think it's finding that atmosphere that is comfortable for them, you know, not what society tells them. You know, so whether for me it's nature, for other people maybe something else, or maybe someplace in your room, but it's got to be a place that you feel safe. That's really important, that you feel safe and secure, and that you can just really truly focus on being present and saying to you, you know, it's taking a deep breath in, blowing it out, and just letting your inner spirit just talk to you. And it has a gentle voice that is really loving you and wants the best for you. So definitely, and it's like for some people, it may only take, how can I put it? They can maybe only do it for 15 seconds of being truly present. That means your body, mind, spirit, and soul are in the same position. But if you can only do it for 15 seconds, that's fine. Then you learn how to do it a little bit longer.
To learn by that constant repetition of doing it on the regular basis will enable you to, I suppose, exercise that muscle and become better and better at it, and therefore you'll be able to do that for a longer period of time. So how does intimacy play out? Like when you're in your book, maybe we can talk about some of the things that you've written inside of your book for entrepreneurs. When you think about sort of intimacy from a business perspective, how have you seen that play out from a benefit standpoint for people in, you know, as entrepreneurs or as business owners?
I've seen it played out in a variety of different ways. I've seen it played out in the sense of me trying different adventures. You know, sometimes we get an idea and we have to really kind of take a reflection if this is something I'm supposed to do and if something I'm not supposed to do. Because I get tons of ideas all the time. Okay. Yeah. And then sometimes it's learning how to listen to this inner voice. You know, like, well, yeah, this is a good idea. Or maybe this is something you should try later, and knowing the right time for it, which is critical. That's important. Then the second thing is also when you truly am intimately connected, also making sure you have the right people around you. And you will know this because if you have the right people around you, they're going to energize you. They're going to uplift you. They're going to and I'm not saying just uplift you by just always giving you the right answers to everything. They're going to uplift you because they're going to be in your corner. So when they have things to say to you that maybe you need to work on, you'll understand that that's coming from a pure heart, a sincere heart. So I think that has really, truly helped me develop relationships because, as you know, in business, relationships are everything.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. And also helps you learn how to create boundaries. Because the other part of being an entrepreneur is sometimes you give so much, but you don't take care of yourself. And I've seen a lot of people like burnout. You know, they try for a business for a few years and they're like, shoot, I cannot do this. It's way too much because I have to be the advertiser, the marketer, you know, the business person and all this kind of stuff. So you have to learn what you can do, what you need help on. Yes, which is all about learning how to be intimately connected to yourself. So when someone comes to you with an idea, with a product, with an advertisement as a client, you go inside and you really focus and you realize, should I take this on? Should I not? Should I pass this? Should I do what to it? Yeah.
Yeah. And like you say, really trusting that higher self, that higher
Right.
power of yours, to guide you in the right direction. So I want to wrap up today's show, but I want to ask this question around, you know, as entrepreneurs and as business owners, we can get so busy, and like you say, we're busy trying to get a business going, and we often forget to be present, to get balanced. What are some of the signs that you see or that one can recognize for themselves that maybe they are suffering from some level of anxiety or depression, and what can they do about that? So that the first signs that they might notice it, obviously, to me, would be that the earlier you can notice it, the earlier you can nip it in the bud and do something about it. So what are some of the early telltale signs?
So some of the early signs, it's probably one, not taking time for yourself, not going for lunch, just working. Number two, or not eating properly. Number three is also not sleeping. If you're not sleeping and you're worrying so much and you're trying to get your mind is always going. Number four is not being fully present with your family, forgetting things, forgetting to take your kids somewhere, or doing so many, or forgetting other things, or getting irritated or angry. Someone, is coming for dinner and you're just so angry that you're like, oh my gosh, you just feel overwhelmed. Another good thing is sometimes people feel their skin crawling, like, oh my gosh, someone touches me or hugs me, I'm just going to lose it. All those are signs that either you're overwhelmed with anxiety or depression. Now, depression is when you have no motivation, when you're not energetic about your job, about your work, or things going on in your life. That you skip things, you just sleep all day, or you sit on the couch, or whatever the case may be, but you're not moving yourself at all. That's a sign of depression, or if you're talking negative about yourself. So, what can you do about these things? Well, the first thing is realizing it. Number two is knowing that there is help, and there's no shame in getting help. There is no shame in getting help. There's many resources out there because, number one, anxiety, most people have some form of anxiety throughout their life. It's really the number one mental health disorder. So whether you Google or go online or whatever to search mental health professionals or coaches, but going to do something is critical. And for some people, they need to go see a professional. For others, they could talk to someone in their spiritual realm. For others, maybe even just talking to a friend, or even journaling. And I know people like, journaling, does that really help? Yes, it does. Because when you have so many thoughts appear and you put it on paper, and I'm not saying you have to keep the paper, but you're getting it out. The thing is, you're getting it out, you're releasing it. So you get it out, you throw it away. You get it out, you throw it away. Another major thing that totally helps in anxiety and depression, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, is to work out. To get up, walk, run, swim. Yes, when you sweat, that's a release. You got to remember your body needs to release things, which also goes into sexual intimacy. Sex is good too, because it's a release.
Yeah, fantastic. Look, I think we're having a little. I'm having a bit of internet interference today. It's a bit strange. So I'm hoping that you guys are able to hear me okay. But like those things that you're talking about there are super, super important. I think being able to be aware of the first signs and then knowing where to go to get some help. So I want to let everybody know where they can go, because obviously Dr. April Brown will be one of the people that you could go and have a conversation with. So I just want to put her details up on the screen today. So if you want to go and continue to have a conversation with Dr. April, you go to www.draprilbrown.com/book-Dr-April, and you'll be able to book an appointment with her. and potentially even her team. But I also know that if you go to her website, she's also got some free things that she gives away on there, of which, and I'm pretty sure I saw this morning, was the journal. So I wanted to just confirm that for me, that I actually did see that correctly, that I saw that on your
Yes.
website, and that people will be able to go there and download a copy.
Yes,
Great, perfect.
definitely.
So so if you want a copy of the journal that Dr. April has spoken about in today's show, then also head on over to draprilbrown.com, and you'll be able to get a copy of that journal. This conversation is such an important one, because I think often, we get tied up and wound up in the day-to-day life, the busyness of being a business owner and entrepreneur, and often we can forget to take care of ourselves. So I want to make sure that, on today, this being Easter, that, you guys are most likely going to take some time out, well, I hope you would, to spend some time with your family, build relationships, and just have some time out, get intimate with yourself, and really tap into that higher source and power that you have inside of you already to help guide you throughout 2022. So I want to say thank you very much to Dr. April for being here on the show today. We may have her back at another time, and hopefully our internet will play really, really nicely when we do have her back. And we'll continue this conversation, because it's such an important one. And we'll go deeper into her book that she's written. Would you like to tell everybody about the book that you've written and where they can get a copy of that if they would like it?
Oh, yes. I've written a couple of different books, and this one is Improving Intimacy with the Business. And I want to say that with all of what we're talking about, when you're an entrepreneur, this is what you're selling. You're selling yourself. You're marketing yourself, really. So in Improving Intimacy, that self-intimacy is critical. So anyone who's out there, be good to yourself, work on yourself, and you will definitely see it in your business as you prosper. Have the faith and believe in it. And it's if you go onto Amazon and find Improving Intimacy, I have a variety of books there. So yes.
Beautiful. Well, there you go, guys. Head on over to Amazon, get yourself a copy of Improving Intimacy. I'll get you to hold that book up again just so we can see it.
Oh, yes.
Get up nice and high for me. There we go.
Yes.
Improving Intimacy with Dr. April Brown. So make sure that you guys head on over there, get yourself a copy of the book, and also connect with her through her website, and you can continue to have a further conversation with her. And like I said, it's likely that we'll have her back again at some other time, and we can talk about this even further. If you've got any questions about how to use intimacy to positively impact your business, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, then make sure that you shoot those over to me. Head on over to tracymwilson.com, and there's a tab where you're able to actually send questions into me. So we'll make sure that we get them answered the next time that we have Dr. April on the show. But thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to the Unlock Show today. I'm your host, Tracy Wilson. I want to wish you guys a fantastic Easter, and I'll see you all again next Wednesday, 10 a.m. Brisbane time, for another episode of the Unlock Show. Thanks for joining, and as we always say, as we tune out with the show, is go and live your life unlocked, because there is just no other way. Thanks, guys, and bye for now.